When asked in a new interview if his fourth Senate term will be his last, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders said, "I'm 83 now. I'll be 89 when I get out of here. You can do the figuring." It's a little tricky, though, because he's been 83 for 40 years. He's so old they used to call math the figuring.
That might explain the state of our economy here. You know, Bernie Sanders was there for the Bolshevik Revolution in St. Petersburg in 1917, and he calls math his gazintas. You know, because 2 goes into 4, and 4 goes into 8. You can do the rest on your own, I think. Well, happy Thursday to you, and welcome back once again. We continue to be reachable at 888-630-9625. President Trump today in New York City at the New York Stock Exchange on Wall Street. That's right there on Wall Street. There used to be a wall there. And President Trump ringing the opening bell, doing the opening bell. I'm going like this with my hand, like I'm ringing a bell of some kind. And he had on stage with him there at the New York Stock Exchange, first of all, a giant poster-sized likeness of the cover of Time magazine, because today we learned that President Trump is Time magazine's Person of the Year. He's not the man of the year, he's the person of the year. And he's got a bunch of people with him. He's got, he's got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for one, and he's got J.D. Vance, and he's got his lovely bride, Melania Trump, and he's got Governor Burgum, and a whole bunch of people with him up on the stage there, all looking very nice and tidy and well-groomed. Not Democrats. You could tell if they're Democrats, they'd look very differently. You'd be able to tell from satellite photos that they're lefties, that they're Democrats. As Democrats, what are Democrats? They go around with guns with silencers, and, well, you know the rest. Remarkable stuff. But happy Thursday to you, and welcome. We're galloping into the Christmas season and the Hanukkah season, too. I think Hanukkah starts this year. When does it start? On Christmas Eve. I think that I'm going to have to check my calendar and do my gazintas, but I think that's right. In any event, President Trump declared Time magazine's Person of the Year. Whenever a Republican is made Person of the Year, the news media always says, "Oh, sure, Time magazine made Hitler Person of the Year." Like, yeah, they did, didn't they? What does that tell you about Time magazine? Well, that's what I have to say about that. But they never say that when they make, like Barack Obama, who bombed more countries than any president since FDR and Harry Truman. But never mind that. He got the Nobel Peace Prize, too, because, they didn't know he was going to attack all those countries before. They just gave it to him for melanin. It was the first Nobel Peace Prize for melanin. But that aside, we also learned yesterday that the sneering, smug, soon-to-be former FBI director Christopher Wray, who has reigned over the FBI during at least one of its most corrupt eras, certainly the most politicized era when it comes to the Democrat Party using the FBI against their political enemies, and almost everybody falls into the category of political enemies when it comes to the Democrat Party. If you're a CEO, you're an enemy of the Democrat Party, and your life may be in danger. If you work in the health care industry, which, if I recall correctly, the Democrats fixed just a few years ago. They called it Obamacare. Remember Obamacare, don't you? And, remarkable stuff that we've got. I was reading in the Washington Post today that the health care industry really is bad, and you should really dislike it. And Senator Pocahontas, who's not a Native American at all, but has lied for decades and decades and took promotions at Harvard and places like that where the people are dumber than you might imagine. And Elizabeth Warren was on the radical left-wing terrorist outlet MSDNC. They've inspired many gunmen. Look, Rachel Maddow was favorite viewing for James Hodgkinson, who went to a baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia. He shot Congressman Steve Scalise. His goal was to murder the entire baseball field filled with Republican members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. And And he was a huge Rachel Maddow fan. And somehow that doesn't rub off on her at all. That doesn't stick with her because the left, to the left. And they don't care about this. That information dominance is there to be abused. It's a power that they have, and so they abuse it. But never mind that. Who else did they inspire at MSDNC? Plenty of people. In the Southern Poverty Law Center, they have as many ties to terrorist attacks in the United States as, well, maybe not as many as the Democratic Party, but we'll get back to that. So FBI Director Christopher Wray announced yesterday that he's going to resign, when he was appointed by President Trump, perhaps ironically, but it's the deep state, it's the permanent bureaucracy, it's them, the statists, the globalists, the power-drunk, and they'll tell you Christopher Wray's a Republican, all evidence to the contrary, but never mind that. In any event, FBI Director Chris Wray to resign in January, and the media, they don't know exactly how to respond. They're very twitchy about it, and Kash Patel is going to be brought in to hopefully clean house at the FBI and at the Justice Department, and the Democrats are very, very angry about this because they need the FBI and the Justice Department so they can abuse it to target and attack, and they like to think, ideally, jail their political enemies. And then you got to remember that, 80 to 100 million people are their political enemies. So how far can we be from the rail spurs and the boxcars? The left is here. And lest we forget, fascism, according to Benito Mussolini, no less, is a merger of state and corporate power, which we're seeing all over the place here. Why do you think they're so angry with Elon Musk? Speaking of which, I want Elon Musk to be, if I were president of the United States, and I'm not, but Joe Biden is, which is tragic. And if I were president of the United States, I think I'd be calling in Elon Musk to say, hey, Elon Musk, you're the Leonardo da Vinci of our era. Perhaps you could put something into space or into the sky over New Jersey that would grab these giant drones that are buzzing all over the place in New Jersey, all over New Jersey, over Bedminster, where President Trump's club is, over military facilities and bases in New Jersey. And how many of them are there? Scores and scores, if not hundreds, of drones, which we're being told are the size of pickup trucks and small school buses, the kind that Joe Biden took to school. And they're flying all over the place in New Jersey. And the governor, who's a Democrat and a hack and just a charlatan, he's out there yelling at anybody who says, we ought to be doing something about this. Honestly, it does remind me of Orson Welles' big radio broadcast, The War of the Worlds, where these objects from space, spaceships and aliens were attacking the Earth. It wasn't really happening, but he convinced the listening public that it was really happening, and it was a great moment in radio history and made Orson Welles' career, launched his career at least. And this is a little like that, but our government has never been more inept, has never been more absent, has never been more awful, at least not lately. And the last time it was this awful, it was because of Democrats, like during the Civil Rights Movement, standing in schoolhouse doors, the Democrats bringing out German Shepherds and fire hoses, the Democrats, Sheriff Bull Connor and Governor George Wallace and Governor Orville Faubus, but the Democrats, the history of the Democrats. But remarkable stuff, this whole they're not UFOs, but they're kind of UFOs. We can say they're drones, but if we don't know who they belong to, one Republican congressman from New Jersey is saying, Iran has a mothership from which they can launch many drones, and that mothership left port in Iran a while back. Is this Iran gearing up for a drone attack on the United States? And whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it's for, who commenced it, I'm against it. I'm sorry, I just slipped into a little Groucho Marx for a moment, but the drones flying all over the place, dozens of them, a Coast Guard boat coming into shore. They say the drones are coming from out in the ocean. Now, how does that happen? And we've been seeing all this stuff in the last couple of years about Air Force and Navy pilots seeing UFOs. What do they change? They changed the name of UFOs. Now there's something else, Aldi. UAEs, unidentified aerial excursions, and it's so they just changed it because because they're the government and they need no more explanation. Isn't that great? But we've been seeing all that stuff, and now we've got probably hundreds of drones the size of pickup trucks and little school buses flying all over the skies of New Jersey. And the governor of New Jersey, a Democrat, couldn't care less and tells you to shut up if you raise an eyebrow because he's I had to clean up my thinking there. I had to pause for a second because he's not a good man. I'll just say because he's not a good man and not a good governor and not a good leader and not a responsible leader and not a responsible adult. But this is potentially a very big deal. It is, by any measure, an absurdity that ought to be addressed by our stupid and corrupt government. But there are a couple of members of Congress and the State House in New Jersey that are pounding the table a little bit and saying, hey, what is up with all these flying things over my house? Sometimes there are 5 of them in formation and they hover in place for long periods of time. And there's a story that once they're spotted, they go dark because they're all lit up and stuff. But once they're spotted, they go dark. Now, what's going on? This is some pretty crazy stuff, right? And isn't this why we have Second Amendment? That's one more reason for the Second Amendment. You got drones hovering over your house, and they go dark when you look at them. Shouldn't your 12-gauge bird gun come out of the closet at that point? Because that's some pretty freaky stuff, I got to say. And there is a gang of hacks, left-wing extremists, radicals, anti-American, anti-civilizational, pro-bad guy, and they're called ProPublica. This left-wing group called ProPublica. ProPublica is a fake journalistic outlet, and it's not journalistic at all. It's a gang of left-wing political hacks that lie to you. Their first lie is, we're journalists, right? And then everything they say after that is a political lie because they have a political agenda. These are the filthy, racist hacks that go after Justice Clarence Thomas. And he had lunch on a bench with a man, and the man might have paid for the sandwich, and they split it. And he must be recused from all cases having to do with sandwiches and benches, the ProPublica people. Completely ridiculous, racist hacks that have spent all their time for years now making up stuff about Justice Clarence Thomas. And now they've got a new one, a new credit on their resume. They set out to smear Pete Hegseth with a big lie, a huge lie. Pete Hegseth has said that he applied to West Point and that he was accepted to West Point, the United States Military Academy at West Point. And then you become an Army officer when you graduate from West Point. Pete Hegseth became a National Guardsman in Minnesota and deployed combat zones, unlike Tim Walz, also from Minnesota, and received 2 Bronze Star medals, combat infantryman badge, all kinds of honors and accolades. And he said once, well, I applied to West Point and I was accepted. So ProPublica says, we're going to fact check that. We're going to look into that. So they pretended to fact check it, and because they're left-wing hacks and liars and frauds, and they're corrupt personally and professionally, they came back with hey, we got a hit piece over here on Pete Hegseth. He never applied to West Point. He was never accepted to West Point, except that he was. And Pete Hegseth provided irrefutable proof that what he said was true and that what ProPublica was saying was just another pack of lies by this pack of liars. And I've got that story for you. Because this is what the fake media does. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they commit fraud. They are left-wingers who just have a deep and abiding desire to corrupt everything they touch and to help the Democrat Party while they do it. So I've got this. It's a pretty remarkable story, actually. My friend Marty sent it to me yesterday. Started looking into it, scratching that surface. Remarkable stuff. Joe Biden with a mass pardon for people convicted of crimes. And when he does it, it's good. But if Donald Trump were to do it, it would be bad with January 6th. Joe Biden is maybe the most corrupt president we've had in a century. He's truly amazing. Got a little bit of Bill Clinton today. I'll try to subject you to as little of his voice as possible. Elizabeth Warren, who seems to be kind of supporting the murder, the assassination of United Healthcare CEO, as so many Democrats are. They love death more than we love life. Speaking of Democrats, Haiti is doing well. I've got an update for you on the voodoo massacre there. Just don't suggest they're eating cats. All right? But if the New York Times says they murdered 200 people with machetes because of a voodoo issue, well, then that's okay, because we're not for double standards. And a fake news agency fact-checking a fake news agency. We are at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yeah, it's like War of the Worlds. It really is in New Jersey. Orson Welles is back. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Michael calling from Gainesville, Virginia. Miguel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, good morning, Chris Plant. Good to speak to you.
Welcome.
Isn't it amazing that this has been going on for weeks and nobody has spoken about spotlights or lasers to illuminate these things when they go dark? And those could be directed by radar from an AWACS airplane if one was up above on air cap.
Uh-huh. You're an Air Force guy?
Nobody's even suggested this or even made an attempt to do anything like this. This is sort of like the Chinese balloon and 9/11 combined, in that somehow our air space is penetrable and nobody knows what to do about it.
That's true, isn't it? And wait till you hear what the Pentagon had to say about it yesterday. They're like, oh, yeah, hundreds of unidentified airborne objects the size of school buses flying over New Jersey, but, there's nothing to worry about. I'm like, I'm sorry, aren't you the Pentagon? Isn't this American airspace? And you're telling us you don't know what they are? Are they space aliens coming out of the bottom of the ocean? Are they cradled down in the sands of the Atlantic Ocean and they pop up and they're flying in and doing probing missions? Are they Iranians? Are they Chinese? And our Pentagon doesn't seem to care. So they send a smiling lady out there who I don't think knows what a drone is to give us a platitude and go away. But you're right. Why aren't we doing anything? We have electromagnetic pulse weapons you could direct at these things and bop, and they drop out of the sky right where they are, cut off all their electricity, unless they're space aliens, of course. What do you think they are?
Well, I think they're probably something that we know what they are, but we have all kinds of ways of identifying what these are. We have space-based infrared sensors that can determine where these things are coming from over the ocean.
Well, wait till you hear what the Pentagon says. You say you think we know what they are. Wait till you hear what they said. I got to say, this whole this drones over New Jersey thing is very freaky and has been going on for weeks. And there are stories of maybe a dozen drones in formation or in a group following a Coast Guard ship in to the coast, to the shore of New Jersey, and the drones coming from out in the ocean. Where are they coming from out in the ocean? They're not coming from Europe or North Africa. Drones don't have that kind of range, at least not drones that we're aware of here on Earth. We have had all these stories the last couple of years about the videos that the Pentagon has of unidentified flying objects, or UAPs, or whatever they're calling them now, and because they changed the name for no good reason, and it didn't change anything except the name, just to make it more exclusive. I think it's not very inclusive, and it's a bizarro situation, and I'm not terrified or anything like that, but if I were in New Jersey, I'd be thinking, where's my .50 caliber rifle? Because should probably knock one of these things down. And you might want to do it along the coast where it doesn't fall on a school for special education or something like that, because they say some of these things are the size of SUVs, right? That'd be a sports utility vehicle. That's another one of our abbreviations and acronyms for 500, Wink. And we've got a Pentagon. I think I might have a U.S. Army attack helicopter up there, and pop, 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 and you could knock these things down like it was a child's game, an arcade game, and nobody's doing that. And they're saying, well, these things, some of them, they're saying the size of a small school bus, a little school bus, little bus, in the air, in the sky over New Jersey. What the heck, you might say, as just amazing stuff. And why is nobody doing anything about it? Let's go. Wait a minute. What's happening on CNN? What? Look at CNN. Michael, can we go live to CNN? Let's go. Let's take the audio feed for they're coming to us live from New Jersey. They've got cameras, a helicopter camera, ground-based cameras, live feeds, and their anchorman describing what's happening in New Jersey.
Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror.
Oh, no, a beam of light.
What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men.
That's terrifying.
Strikes them head on.
Look out.
Lord, they're turning into flames.
Oh,
the woods, the barns, the gas tank.
It's getting worse.
Spreading everywhere.
Oh, no, John Berman at CNN. It was John sucked up by the SUV. It's terrible. It's horrible. Oh, the humanity. It's absolutely terrifying. The drones are everywhere. But CNN isn't really covering it. That was, of course, the voice of Orson Welles, as any child of 6 can tell you. His War of the Worlds radio broadcast of 1938, where he did a radio broadcast. It was a real radio broadcast, but a fake space invasion by space aliens, and he put it out as though it were not satire, as though it were not drama, and half the country went crazy. Oh no, we're being attacked by space aliens, and now it looks like we are being attacked by space aliens, and our media could care less, and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, could care less. Isn't that amazing? I did it again. They couldn't care less. I keep grammatically incorrect. It may be a colloquial turn of phrase, but it's grammatically incorrect. It would be impossible for them to care less. And the news media, I keep being corrected on this by people who are right to do so. I'll go ahead and say they're right to do so. All right, now let's go to some of what we have on this, because this is wacky. There was a meeting yesterday, and CNN is excited about that. New Jersey drones lawmakers meet with security officials. They have security officials in New Jersey now, which is nice. Weeks of unexplained drone sightings raise fears and frustrations in New Jersey. And New Jersey already has enough in the way of fears and frustrations. I can tell you that right now. Weeks of mysterious drone sightings across New Jersey are prompting heightened security concerns and mounting frustrations. They got heightened and mounting and heightened. It's like Hunter Biden's apartment. From residents, military personnel, and federal, state, and local officials. Once again, all evidence to the contrary. While the state's governor, a dim-witted Democrat, says there is no threat to public safety, other state officials and local mayors are alarmed. Why would they be alarmed? I'm legitimately concerned for what the hell is going on because nobody knows, State Assemblyman Brian Bergen told CNN affiliate News 12 New Jersey after a briefing at state police headquarters on Wednesday. Yesterday, there was a briefing at state police headquarters. We are literally being invaded by drones. We have no idea who's doing it and where th're coming from, said Pequannon Mayor Ryan Herb. Ryan Herb. Do you think it's Herb or Herb? Could be Herb, could be Herb. It's H-E-R-B. Told the station after the briefing, law enforcement has not identified the origin or landing sites of the drones. Mayor Michael Mellum of Belleville Township said in a Facebook video update on Wednesday. He added that the drones primarily operate at night. They only come out at night, often displaying flashing lights, but they turn off the lights and evade police helicopters when approached. They turn off the lights and they evade police helicopters. Got to arm these police helicopters now. Got to get some chain guns on these things. Got to get phalanx. Got to get some high-powered stuff up there. According to Millman, the drones have eluded radar detection. Well, that would be quite unusual, too, possibly because they do not emit frequencies or possess evasion capabilities. Really, they evade radar because they possess evasion capabilities. That'd be kind of unusual, too. He also raised alarm over where some of the drones have been spotted. One of the takeaways today was that these drones statewide are hovering and appearing to be surveilling New Jersey's critical infrastructure, Mellman said. The mayor of West Milford, Michelle Dale, reported 60 drones hovering over local reservoirs. That's where your drinking water comes from. Could be poisoned or drugged or infected with the Wuhan Red Death or a new biological warfare agent. But pay no attention. The Democrats are not concerned. New Jersey, a Democrat state, of course. And so if you're going to attack the United States, you're Iran or you're a space alien, definitely go to a Democrat place because they're not on our side. And I think the space aliens and the Iranians know that. Joe Biden freed up another $10 billion for Iran in the middle of the ongoing attacks against Israel and their goal of nuking the United States while they spin centrifuges and enrich uranium beyond the allowable levels under the JCPOA that the corrupt and dim-witted Barack Obama inflicted upon the world. So the mayor of West Milford, Michelle Dale, 60 drones, 60, right? A half 100 plus 10, hovering over local reservoirs. Why would they be hovering over 60 of them? Honestly, where's Gene Berry? That's an invasion of the, but that's another thing. So some members of Congress have speculated that a foreign entity may be involved in the drones, something the Pentagon rebuffed on Wednesday. And if you can't trust the woman at the Pentagon podium, who can you trust? Having spent 10 years at the Pentagon myself as a journalist covering the military and the U.S. intelligence community. They call it a community, but they don't really live in one place. The denial came hours after Representative Jeff Van Drew, New Jersey Republican, told Fox News the drones were from a mothership from Iran. It's not exactly what he said. Off the east coast of the United States of America, they're kind of slightly. He raised the question, but he didn't tell Fox News the drones were from a mothership from Iran. He did raise the question, but at CNN they misreport it because he's a Republican and they are corrupt Democrats posing as journalists. All right, so let's go now to some audio on this because this is pretty crazy. What is going on here? Here is the Pentagon spokeswoman. She's the deputy press secretary at the Pentagon. It's a big 5-sided building in Virginia, but that's not important now. Her name is Sabrina Singh. Sabrina Singh. And hey, Sabrina Singh, you're the deputy Pentagon press secretary. I'm a reporter. There are all these drones flying over reservoirs. And, oh, by the way, President Trump's Bedminster property there, where he may be spending time as president of the United States. Are they doing recon, surveillance? Are they planting seeds? What are they, listening devices? Are they just experimenting with their ability to, honestly? So here's Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary and spokeswoman Sabrina Singh yesterday being asked, what's up with the drones? Are these U.S. military equipment? Are these drones U.S. government property? And here's Sabrina Singh at the Pentagon.
These are not U.S. military drones.
What?
Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
So they're not from the U.S. government and they're not from a foreign government. Well, what does that leave, Michael? That leaves outer space, I think. That leaves space aliens. And let's call in the fighter pilots that have testified on Capitol Hill about the things they've seen darting around at the sky at Mach 6 and then changing direction on a dime. But, wait a minute. She just said, and the lack of curiosity on the part of reporters at the Pentagon and elsewhere is alarming and disturbing. So wait a minute. Sabrina's saying they're not U.S. military, U.S. government, and they're not foreign. So that has to mean that they're from outer space. Who else could they be? What else? 60 drones over a reservoir in New Jersey, 50 drones following a Coast Guard boat into the shore coming from out over the ocean. And let's go to, but I find that to be very curious, and I would have asked what we used to call follow-up questions of Sabrina Singh, the Pentagon spokeswoman, yesterday at least. And isn't that remarkable? Congressman Jeff Van Drew appeared on the Fox News channel yesterday. He is a Republican from New Jersey. And honestly, he's trying to find out what's going on. He's a member of Congress. He's trying to be a responsible adult in this. And the Pentagon says, search me, not our stuff. And she was patting herself down. Search me. I don't know. I don't know where they come from. They're not U.S. government. They're not military. And they're not foreign. Well, what? And honestly, if you're a reporter in the room, don't you look at the reporter next to you and make a face and say, well, what does that mean then? Is this the invasion of the space aliens? Congressman Jeff Van Drew.
I've gotten to know people, and from very high sources, very qualified sources, very responsible sources, I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear, and again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly.
I don't say this lightly. All right, well, yesterday he got closer to saying that it really was just Iran. Day before yesterday, he raised the question. Now he seems to be edging closer to Iran. And he did talk about this Iranian mothership that would be a home port for drones flying in the sky that left port in Iran some time back. If this is Iran, if I were president, that ship would be at the bottom of the ocean before the sun went down today. But Joe Biden is the president, and he just freed up another $10 billion for the Ayatollahs in Tehran. Isn't that amazing? Congressman Jeff Van Drew said something that I agree with wholeheartedly.
These drones should be shot down. Whether it was some crazy hobbyist that we can't imagine, or whether it is Iran, and I think it very possibly could be, they should be shot down.
Not for certain, he said, not for certain, but if there is an Iranian mothership off our coast. But the Pentagon lady, Sabrina Singh, yesterday said, definitely not foreign, and definitely not U.S. government. That's what she said. Isn't that amazing stuff? Yes, it is. I've got more because the Democrat governor, Phil Murphy of New Jersey, he's not up to the task either. The Democrats probably want to run him for president. He's so inept and incompetent. Wait till you hear what he had to say. Remarkable stuff. The governor of the great state of New Jersey, the Garden State. Maybe the space aliens love gardens. Maybe the Iranians. But 60 of them over a reservoir. What a reservoir is critical infrastructure. It's a vulnerability to public health and safety. And we have government leaders everywhere that call themselves Democrats who just scoff at you if you raise an eyebrow. Maybe they're scaly space aliens. Maybe like Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King. I'm not sure, but I'm looking into it.
Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones. They've launched drones, is everything that we can see or hear. And again, these are from high sources. I don't say this lightly.
A woman named Sabrina Singh, who's the deputy Pentagon press secretary. I went to the transcript, the Pentagon transcript of the briefing, and she was asked about the Iranian mothership, and she said, no, there is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States. And she said these drones, maybe hundreds of them, are not U.S. military drones, and she said they are not owned by a foreign entity. So if they're not U.S. military and they're not foreign, then they must be space aliens. It's the only possible answer. The fake reporters in the Pentagon briefing room then just moved on to another subject after attacking Jeff Van Drew and calling him a Republican from New Jersey, as if his party is important to the questions that have been raised, because the reporters show their colors. All right, let's go to Susan, calling from Southern Maryland. Susan, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Well, hi there. Thank you for taking my call. I was listening to you talking about all of the drones in New Jersey, but we had quite a few here last night in Southern Maryland.
Tell me about that.
Well, my daughter and I live in a very rural area, so there were dark skies last night, very easy to see, and I think she stopped counting at about 30.
Wow.
And they were hovering relatively low. We live near I guess you'd call it an electric substation, and they were hovering over the substation, and then the lights would go off, and then they would dart around again, and it was a little intimidating and pretty spooky.
Can you don't have to, you don't want to, can you tell me what county you are in? Charles County, and there's a power substation, and you and your daughter, dark sky, saw perhaps 30 drones, and they were hovering. Now, were they hovering in a cluster or in three separate clusters? One big?
They were darting all over the place. And so I put it on Facebook. You know, you jump to social media when you see something like that. And I had numerous friends in the area immediately jump on and report their own sightings, some with videos, some with pictures, and they were terrible videos and terrible pictures. It's difficult at night with their cell phones to get anything. But
sure.
I also have friends that live on a farm in Hughesville, and they had sightings down there as well.
I got to tell you, this is a new development. Susan, thank you very much for your call.